20-year-old Charles Coubrough, 2nd Lieutenant in 7th Battalion, 10th Baluch Regiment, served in Burma during the Battle of Par-An. In February 1942, his battalion was situated north of Kuzeik on the west bank of the Salween River opposite Par-An. They were tasked with preventing or delaying the Japanese from using the ferry crossing until the Brigade Reserve Battalion of the 5th Battalion, 17th Dogras, could counterattack. However, the Japanese 215 Regiment, comprising of 3 battalions of the 33rd White Tigers Infantry Division, crossed the Salween on the night of the 10th-11th of February. The following is taken from Charles's recorded interview.
I think Brigade was quite happy that we should be attacked. And then the idea was that this other battalion would attack the Japanese in the rear. Well, the first part worked admirably. We were attacked. The Japanese attacked, I think, at 2 a.m. I think it was 12th February, that's right. I know that from a friend who was in one of the front line companies, the first thing they saw was a sort of moonlight glinting, as he put it, on those awesome long Japanese bayonets as they came out into the open. Then they came up shouting and charging. They attacked 2 companies, one commanded by Captain Cecil Dyer, which is a full company. He was a fine officer, became a Major General in the Indian Army, and he was awarded an immediate DSO after the battle. And they put up a tremendous performance, actually. And one of them being wiped out down at Pagat. Another was out on patrol, and so he had one platoon there. When the attack came in battalion headquarters, the CO called out to the adjutant to go to the river front. Anyhow, that's what he decided. They got there, they crossed the road to the company, which was along the river there. It was covering the road. That was probably what he felt, that they would be coming down the road. But unfortunately, they were cut off for the next few hours by what we call friendly fire from the machine gun detachment, which was covering the road, so they were unable to get back. Pat Dunn, the second in command, ordered me to sit with my pistol over the 2 brigades signallers to see that they didn't run away, and continued their efforts to get in touch with either brigade or with the hopefully advancing Dogras. I did that I thought I could find myself more useful elsewhere. So without telling Major Dunn, I delegated it to a reliable NCO to do the same there, because I thought it was a waste of time anyway. And first of all went off to B Company, which was the nearest, and I went with my orderly. But before we got there, we more and more sort of bullets plopped into and my orderly looked rather unhappily, and I thought, well, really, it's not much point. I've got no news to give or any orders to give John Randall, and no news about the Dogras. So I turned back, then went around the area, and where there was a second lieutenant who made a strong point. He was the only one who had Tommy gun amongst us, and by that time it was getting daylight, and I thought that was starting to get daylight, and there was an ominous silence came from the outer part. So I thought I'd go back and ask Dunn's permission to take my few signallers there and join Second Lieutenant Holden's strong point. When I got back to headquarters, I was told by Tootle, I saw there, said that the CO and the adjutant had come back, and he crossed the road back again, and over there pointed across the road from where he come from. And so I said, right, I'll go and join him. And I rushed across the road, and at that moment, it was a bare hill. There weren't very many of them. It was a bare hill with full view of Par crossing, and it was mortar shells descended on it. And I remember I shouted out, "Jitni Jaldi Hosake," in a meant to be reassuring tone of voice, because they're all taking cover as quickly as possible. And Colonel Dyer said in English, "There's no hurry." And anyhow, I then went and fell in to walk beside him. And we then walked so slowly across that hill down into cover from view, and we were pushed aside by someone who thought we were going rather too slowly. Anyhow, I suppose. And I followed him. He never spoke to me again. He had his walking stick in his hand, and he eventually came to a nullah, it's a dry riverbed, and he right along it up to the road. I followed him. He clambered up onto the road and set off at a cracking pace with his stick in his hand. I stopped as I was clambering out onto the road. Because I noticed, up say 50 yards or so, whatever it was, up on the right of the road, it was all jungle and hills on right, so almost impassable. But there was one small tuft of grass on the right below the hill. Grass moved, and there wasn't a breath of wind, so I knew that there were Japs there, and so I shouted at him, "Look out, sir, Japs ahead!" And he took no notice. Then three shots, a few shots, two or three I suppose, and came out. He grabbed his wrist first, and then crashed to the ground. He was some way ahead of me, and I knew that I was only some 9 stone. I hadn't got the upper body strength to lift him or carry him, but I had identified the place from where he'd been shot, and I thought that if I could we could engage that and then bring him and help bring him back, you see. And there couldn't have been many people there, because there wasn't room for more than 2 or 3 at the most in that one bit of grass underneath the hill, and mountainous type of rock. And so I called out. I looked back down the nullah and called out, but no one answered. They'd all gone to ground. And I had in mind, I knew that there were no automatic weapons, but I had seen a rifleman. I had noticed a rifleman with one of these grenade carriers at the top of his rifle, and I thought that would be quite a good way of disposing of that particular Jap position. But I was hoping to find him, but didn't find anybody. And then I then clambered up, looked back up the river, and to my intense surprise, I saw Colonel Dyer staggering back. And so I clambered out as fast as I could and helped him. And fortunately, 2 men did appear at the bottom of the nullah, and one of them came and halfway up and between us we lured the colonel down, and I wasn't shot at. So it makes me think there was only one Jap there, and he didn't want to waste his ammunition. I don't think chivalry about shooting people in the back would have worried them very much. They carried him down the Nala towards the riverbank, grassy, comfortable, and out of sight from air, and I was still hoping that the Dogras would come. He was very badly hurt, and he couldn't speak because he'd been shot in the jaw. He had on the frontier, he'd already had once been shot in the jaw. This time it finished his jaw off, and he had blood streaming from him. And he was also, I dressed it as best I could with his field dressings and mine. So while I did that, the two chaps disappeared. I stayed with him. I was very inexperienced about these things. I thought he was waving me away like this, but I thought he was very bad and would expire. But I didn't stay with him literally all the time. I walked up and down the Nala, peered over the edge, see if I could find anyone to organise, and also select a hiding place for myself. And I selected a very good one. Then the Japanese started, after some time, examining the going things. I went up into my hiding place, and I stayed there. Several times they went up and looked up, and I remained still. It's a very good place. It was dark, I made absolutely still, and they never noticed me. And then once they went off, and I think possibly it was a slight relief after the second one had gone past, that I might have relaxed a bit and made a movement or noise, because he came back and looked up again. And I remember I stayed absolutely still. I could see him. I studied his face. It was only just seven near me. I had my pistol like this with a finger on the trigger. I was bounced on the balls of my feet. I knew what I had to do. I had to kill him if he'd seen he noticed me, and somehow get falling over, swivel round, shoot the other Jap who'd gone up, and then I was going to turn and run down to the river. And then I knew I'd already checked that it was perfectly passable below the bank along the river before we got to the water, because it had been dry weather, and run down into the jungle somewhere else. But he didn't. My luck held. I stayed absolutely still, and he moved on.
On the 15th of February, after days on the run, Charles is captured by the Japanese.
When it was dawn, I climbed a tree. I thought I might be quite near the Dontami. I couldn't see it, to my disappointment. Below I saw a Burmese boy sort of staring at me, so I went like this and so, they don't give me away or something like that. But I knew he would. Anyhow, the villagers would have reported me. And sure enough, after I'd gone far with daylight, I could hear sound of people searching bushes. So I found a very good hiding place, just off the path, with a thicket that came round from the outside, and you couldn't be seen. And again, I remained absolutely still when they passed by. I could feel people looking at me, but looking in, but they didn't see me in the dark. It was about 4 o'clock, and I thought, well, that's my last go. I'm getting a bit weak, and I've got to make a determined effort as soon as it's dark. I still had my compass, and it was open to hope to reach the Dontami and cross it. I was a strong swimmer, but I was getting a little on the weak side. And then some more searchers came, And I'd been dozing, and I'd left my foot sticking slightly out of the cover round the back, not by the footpath, but round the back. The next thing I knew was a man of Asiatic visage with a knife like this raised above me. He shouted at me and raised his hand like this, plunged down into about there my heart, and fortunately then he had other ideas and he shifted it to strike another part, i.e. he would have castrated me, I think, and that gave me the chance to act, and I shot out my left hand because I was lying on my revolver. So I went like that. I said, "Look over there." He fortunately did. It gave me the opportunity then to whip my pistol out and pulled the trigger before he whipped it down. He's much stronger than I was. He didn't go off. I misfired completely. He jabbered the people outside, and they jabbered back, and they obviously told him to bring me out instead of this dismembering, which he'd been looking forward to. So he gestured for me to get out, so I crawled out, and in the late afternoon sun I saw these, I suppose about 5 or 6, I didn't know they were Japanese, I assumed they were, just had shorts on and knives. That was all, and I said, "Are you Japanese?" And one of them nodded. Surprisingly, they weren't unfriendly. They all seemed to be in command. We all marched in a group along a sort of fairly wide pathway until one of them tapped my watch. So I had the sense to give it him, and instead of arguing about the Geneva Conventions, and that was a signal from them all to start raiding my pockets, and they were quite sympathetic. But then we came to a clearing. There was a horrible man there who was a gunso or something, slightly more senior. I wouldn't have said he's commissioned officer. The sword wasn't quite big enough. He shouted at them, ordered them to make me stand, stood round me, stuck their knives, without drawing blood into me. And then he went round shouting this word, Japan, at me. And I very nearly shouted back England, but fortunately I didn't. And I realized it's better not to talk and just to try. I just felt that I only had one chance, was to sort of earn their respect for my conduct. And also there's an obligation, I felt, that as a British officer to behave. And so I did. I didn't enjoy it. But I stopped grinning. I had been grinning before. I just stopped grinning, and they stopped. I was put on a bullock cart. My hands were tied like this, and it was over. And, I was in captivity.
Please help to rescue and preserve more memories of the Second World War. Visit www.war-experience.org.